and they're blaming me for the choices that they had. They were not culpable. That is not gaslighting. That.
It started like so many other days had quiet, ordinary, almost forgettable. Janelle Brown, ever the pragmatic spreadsheet-savvy cornerstone of what once was a tightly bonded plural family, had simply intended to prepare for tax season, with calculator in hand and a decade's worth of shared financial history on her laptop screen. She began sifting through old transaction logs from the family's now-defunct LLCs. But as she cross-referenced the entries, something didn't feel right. The numbers didn't add up. At first glance, they looked like routine expenses, home goods, childcare, and vague interior improvements. Nothing that would raise alarms if you weren't looking closely. But Janelle was, and once she started really digging, the line items began to scream. What started as a couple of $1,000s in misaligned entries snowballed into a disturbing six-figure sum. And that's when the walls of silence so long maintained in the name of family unity began to crumble. Those entries weren't just inconsistent. They were telling some of the transactions never touched the family's shared accounts. Instead, they appeared to be reroutedly through individual PayPal transfers and direct vendor payments, completely bypassing collective oversight. A deep chill ran through Janelle as she noted the timestamps. Some were recent, too recent. One transaction in particular, a large lump sum wired to a high-end interior design firm based in Flagstaff, correlated suspiciously with the time Robyn was reportedly redecorating her now infamous doll room. Yes, that doll room estimated by some fans to cost upwards of $200,000. Another transaction pointed to a luxury toy dealer in Utah, place none of the other wives had ever discussed. Janelle felt the bottom drop out. This wasn't just bookkeeping. Sloppiness, this looked tanned, felt like betrayal. In earlier years, she might have brought it up quietly in a family council meeting, but those days were long gone. The marriages had fractured. The emotional safety net was threadbare at best, non-existent at worst. And so, Janelle took action. Screenshots were taken. Backups were created, files copied to a secure hard drive. Then she began sending them first to Christine, then to Mary. The women may have gone their separate ways, but nothing unites like shared suspicion. And this was the kind of betrayal that demands alliance. Christine, always outspoken and emotionally candid, allegedly fired back a single, explosive text after reviewing some of the receipts. She's been living off us this whole time. But it didn't end there, because what happened next wasn't just dramatic. It was chilling. Around 11 p.m., that same night, Janelle's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. The text was short, calculated, and direct. If you publish anything, she'll go public with everything. It's the implication. Robyn, often portrayed as the demure, soft-spoken fourth wife, was prepared to swing back hard. According to insiders, Robyn had kept meticulous records during her years with the family. Diaries, voicemails, even secretly recorded conversations. Some say she'd long floated the idea of a tell-all memoir. Others whispered about her ongoing conversations with a documentary producer who'd been circling for years, waiting for the Brown family's inevitable implosion. Whether fact or threat, the message was clear. Robyn was ready to burn bridges if she felt cornered. But if she thought the threat would silence Janelle, she had sorely miscalculated. Because Janelle wasn't just defending herself, she was standing up for the sacrifices made by all the wives, financial and emotional, for the joint accounts they poured into, the collective debt they bore, and for every dollar that vanished into vague line items and unrecognizable vendors. According to sources close to her, Janelle is no longer operating on emotion. She's methodical. Now she's gathering, documenting, and strategizing. And the quiet storm she's building is far more dangerous than any public outburst. The fallout was immediate. The family's group chat, yes, one still exists, shockingly went silent. No morning greetings, no updates about the kids, just digital silence. the kind that crackles with unspoken truths. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Robyn began circling her wagons. She reached out to her longtime attorney, flagged select producers at TLC, and even contacted a ghostwriter she'd reportedly had on retainer for months. Yes, Robyn allegedly had been preparing her version of the story long before Janelle started digging. She reportedly wants a legacy book. Not a gossip-laden fluff piece, but a serious, self-justifying narrative that repositions her as the misunderstood heart of the family. But here's the problem. The public has already chosen sides. Robyn entered the family as wife number 4, but was quickly elevated by Cody and circumstance to the position of first among equals. As her influence grew, Christine and Janelle faded. Mary was emotionally isolated. And fans noticed the optics were clear, even if the storyline tried to spin something softer. But now that Janelle has receipts, literal, by nature receipts, those long-held suspicions are turning into cold, hard fury. Social media has ignited with theories. Reddit threads are blowing up. TikTok sleuths are connecting dots and creating timelines. Fans are comparing screenshots from past episodes with recently leaked photos. One in particular went viral. Robyn spotted leaving a boutique jewelry store in Flagstaff. A designer bag in hand, a glinting diamond bracelet visible at her wrist. Nice to see who's thriving. One user snarked. The hashtags. Hashtag where did the money go and hashtag Robyn the real wife. And while Robyn may have her version of the story locked and loaded, she hasn't shared a word publicly. That's silence. It's not peace. It's strategy. Insiders say she's meeting with lawyers daily, trying to determine if anything Janelle might release could be legally blocked or countered. Meanwhile, Janelle has reportedly begun speaking off the record with a financial journalist known for exposing shady dealings in the world of celebrity finance. If that report goes public, it could send shockwaves through not just the Brown family, but the network that built them. Speaking of TLC, they're reportedly in crisis mode. One producer allegedly said during a damage control meeting, "We can't control what she writes, but we can control what gets filmed." The implication? If Robyn's memoir contradicts years of carefully edited reality television, the network could be caught red-handed manipulating the family's real story. And while TLC loves drama means ratings this level of conflict threatens the entire franchise. They've spent over a decade crafting narratives about love, faith, struggle, and unity. If Janelle's financial findings are even partially true, it undermines the core mythology of the show. The internal panic isn't limited to producers. Cody, too, has been reportedly blindsided by Janelle's quiet investigation. According to sources, he'd assumed that when Janelle walked away romantically, she'd also walk away from the business side. That was a mistake, one insider revealed. He called an emergency Zoom with what remains of the family unit. During the call, he allegedly tried to defuse the situation, repeatedly saying things like, "It's not what it looks like, and you don't know the whole story." But Janelle.com and Collected wasn't buying it. Christine refused to even attend. Instead, she texted Janelle after the meeting, "Don't let him gaslight you. You've got this. K." And here's the thing, Janelle might really have it. Reports suggest she's sitting on a trove of documentation. Not just PayPal, records, and invoices, but contracts, text threads, ads, and email chains from when the family still operated as a financial unit. Christine, for her part, is allegedly helping her verify timelines, because if it turns out Robyn continued spending shared funds after separations were finalized, this isn't just a betrayal. It could be a civil liability. There may be restitution on the table. And that opens the door to lawsuits, forensic accounting audits, and even potential tax scrutiny. And still, Robyn holds her cards close. Rumors swirl about her books, working titles. One version, The Real Robyn, My Truth Beyond the Edits. Another, Wife Number. For the Cost of Loving Cody, insiders say her manuscript exists paints her as the emotional pillar who held the family together while others fled. But viewers aren't so sure. They've rewatched the scenes. They've dissected the old tears, the confessional clips, and the infamous line about maxing out credit cards to support the family. And now, with Janelle's financial receipts suggesting the opposite, those moments are being reinterpreted. The emotional math no longer checks out. The truth is, this isn't just drama. It's exposure. It's about legacy, money, power, and the image of a family sold to millions as aspirational. What's emerging now is a narrative of imbalance, control, and secrecy. And for once, the audience isn't waiting for the producers to reveal the truth. They're digging it up themselves. So where does this leave the Browns? In limbo. The group chat is still silent. TLC is watching like a hawk. Cody is reportedly frantic behind the scenes, trying to salvage whatever influence he has left. Robyn is lawyered up and ghostwriting, and Janelle. She's not speaking publicly yet, but every move she makes says one thing: she's preparing. Whether it's a lawsuit, an expose, or both. She's done waiting, done watching, done funding someone else's fairy tale, and fans. They're no longer just spectators. They're digital detectives, amateur auditors, emotional archivists. And they've picked their side. Because when you follow the money, you find the truth. The truth. It's a reckoning long in the making. What began as a modest family experiment in unconventional lifestyle centered around plural marriage has evolved, or perhaps devolved, into one of the most public unravelings reality television has ever witnessed. For over a decade. Fans of the Brown family watch the Sister Wives franchise for its mix of emotional rawness, spiritual ideals, and complex interpersonal dynamics. But what's unfolding now isn't just the aftermath of romantic dissolution. It's a full-scale financial and reputational implosion. And at the center of this chaos is Janelle Brown, quietly arming herself with documentation, intent, and unflinching resolve. In what may go down as the most explosive chapter yet in the Brown family saga, a new bombshell has emerged. An anonymous leak surfaced this week on a well-known Brown family subreddit, claiming to contain excerpts from Robyn Brown's alleged book proposal. Though swiftly removed, the post had already been screen-grabbed and disseminated across fan forums and social platforms. The language used in the excerpt echoed Robyn's past interviews with uncanny precision. The tone. If it's real, it doesn't read like a memoir. It reads like a counterattack. A deliberate, pointed reframing of events designed to reposition Robyn not as the villain of the story, but as the misunderstood martyr. In this supposed draft, Robyn suggests that certain family members are distorting financial truths out of revenge, that their versions of the story are fabrications born out of jealousy and regret. But even as Robyn crafts her narrative, Janelle has allegedly uncovered something far more damaging than PayPal logs and inconsistent account entries. A full breakdown of financial contributions toward the family's Flagstaff property purchases. For years, fans speculated about who paid what and who benefited most. Now, Janelle has documentation that might provide concrete answers. According to a source who claims to have seen the records firsthand, the paperwork breaks down each wife's investment. And Robyn's contribution is proportionately low compared to the property value she now controls. The implications are staggering. If these numbers are accurate and made public, it would be hard to argue that Robyn didn't benefit at the expense of the other wives, especially those who left. As the source put it plainly, if those numbers are released, it will be undeniable who walked away with the biggest slice of the pie, and it wasn't Christine or Janelle. And that revelation, more than any emotionally charged interview or confessional, might be what finally shatters the illusion of financial equality that the show spent years building. This is what fans have been waiting for, the moment when murky suspicions finally collide with documented reality. For years, Cody Brown has been the nucleus of the family. Robyn, the favored wife, and the others orbiting precariously around them. But with Mary essentially out, Christine thriving in a new chapter, and Janelle reportedly equipped with hard data, the balance has shifted. Fan sentiment, once divided, is now solidly leaning toward those perceived as wronged. Social media is ablaze with demands. Some are calling for a full forensic audit of the Brown family's shared assets. Others are encouraging Janelle to go full Aaron Brockovich, dig in, lawyer up, and expose everything. Even former TLC insiders have begun weighing in, stunned at how far the situation has escalated. One insider, speaking under anonymity, said, "This isn't just about family anymore. This is legacy warfare. This is about who owns the narrative moving forward." Christine, who successfully navigated her own exit from the marriage and launched a reinvention tour that resonated with fans, is now reportedly helping Janelle with her media strategy. This isn't just support among friends, it's collaboration with stakes. And according to insiders, Christine is prepared to testify if legal proceedings occur. "The truth always comes out," she allegedly said. "It's just a matter of who tells it first." That's the tension at the heart of this showdown. Will Robyn strike first with her tell-all? Will Janelle drop the receipts before she does? Or will the whole thing implode, leaving only a trail of documents and contradictory stories in its wake? So far, both women remain publicly silent, but their actions speak volumes. Robyn is polishing manuscripts and reportedly contacting legal teams about intellectual property and potential lawsuits. Janelle, on the other hand, is quietly assembling her team. According to two sources close to the situation, she has retained a financial advisor specializing in family business dissolution and asset tracing. She's preparing not just to defend herself, but to establish what her real contributions were financially, emotionally, and logistically against what she now believes was siphoned off in the name of shared resources. This isn't about vengeance anymore. It's about vindication, about justice. Janelle, who once pinched pennies and reportedly lived in an RV while Robyn redecorated a doll room with boutique furniture, is drawing a line. And fans are standing behind her. TikTok sleuths are already splicing together scenes from old episodes, Robyn casually discussing purchases or boasting about designer kids. Wardrobes juxtaposed against Janelle and Christine talking about tight budgets and delayed medical care. One viral clip shows Robyn casually mentioning she had ordered another piece of living room furniture. In that same episode, Janelle discusses struggling with heating bills. The juxtaposition is not lost on viewers. Meanwhile, Cody is allegedly scrambling. Sources claim he's floated the idea of a mutual NDA among past and present wives. Desperation, say insiders. He sees the house of cards collapsing and thinks paperwork will stop it. But if Janelle's records prove misuse of shared funds or intentional obfuscation, no NDA can bury that truth. It would be a legal matter, not just a PR one. Despite the building pressure, Janelle hasn't gone public yet. But everything she's doing points toward that eventuality. Every file she compiles, every message she sends Christine, every anonymous meeting with legal counsel. This isn't an emotional reaction. It's strategy. It's building a case. And Robyn, if she thinks a memoir will erase bank statements, may be in for a rude awakening. Because receipts speak louder than recollections, fans are now seeing this not as the unraveling of a marriage, but the exposure of a fragile financial empire built on secrecy. The damning part, not just that Robyn may have gained disproportionately, but that the other women, strong, independent women who made sacrifices for a collective dream, are only now beginning to realize how little they were allowed to see. Insiders claim Janelle is combing through records going back to the Las Vegas days. She's unearthing LLC documents, account names, email threads. One name keeps resurfacing: a Flagstaff-based LLC under a family-themed title, but reportedly with Robyn as the sole account signatory. If true, and if this was never disclosed to the other wives, it could change everything. Why did Cody never mention this on camera? Why did Robyn have sole access? Why didn't the other wives know? These aren't just fan theories anymore. Former production crew members have begun speaking up through anonymous gossip channels, saying that Robyn had a direct line to TLC accounting, that she was never as dependent as the show portrayed, that the quiet, teary persona she showed on camera masked a more strategic, controlled figure behind the scenes, and her book, allegedly titled The Real Robyn or Wife Number 4, The Cost of Loving Cody, it's being pitched as a legacy-defining piece. But fans are skeptical. If the first pages of the story are rooted in denial, how can the conclusion claim authenticity? Christine, while no longer legally connected, remains emotionally invested. Sources close to her suggest she's willing to do a joint interview with Janelle, but only if Janelle takes the lead. She had her turn, said one insider. This is Janelle's fight now. Robyn, meanwhile, may be keeping a low profile in public, but those close to her say the activity behind the scenes is anything but passive. A legal courier was reportedly seen outside her Flagstaff home. Rumors swirl that she's drafting preemptive defamation claims. But again, how do you sue over facts? Even TLC seems to be hedging. A leaked internal email between production staffers raised concerns over narrative liability, suggesting that if Robyn was indeed portrayed as financially equal, but wasn't, the network could face backlash, and possibly worse. As it stands, Janelle is reportedly nearing a decision. Whether she opts for a press interview, a legal complaint, or simply leaks the documents anonymously, the world is watching, because this isn't just about who loved whom. It's about who paid what, who sacrificed, who controlled, and who walked away richer literally. In a war between spin and spreadsheet, Janelle may have the advantage. Because while Robyn's book may tell her truth, Janelle's records show everyone's. And when the two clash in the court of public opinion, it's the numbers that usually win. What once was a family experiment in faith and love has become a battleground for control, transparency, and legacy. The House of Brown has cracks far deeper than emotional ones. And if Janelle chooses to blow the lid off, the entire structure may collapse in full view of the audience that built it. And that, perhaps, is the most poetic ending reality TV could write. Because this isn't just family drama anymore, it's reckoning with numbers to match. Sources close to Janelle reveal that she's been carrying the weight of years filled with silent sacrifice, overlooked effort, and quiet strength. But what once simmered under the surface has now reached a boiling point. Overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she's piecing together, her determination is unwavering. Every folder she opens, every document she cross-checks, confirms what she's long suspected. The burden wasn't shared equally. The numbers tell the story in balanced contributions, whispered arrangements, and decisions made behind closed doors that left her carrying more than her share of the family's collective responsibilities. It's not just about money, it's about equity, about trust, and about how narratives can be shaped to make some look saintly while others are silently depleted. And now, with Christine urging her forward and Mary reportedly giving a quiet nod of solidarity, Janelle knows she's not standing alone. Still, the decision to bring it all into the light is not one she's taken lightly. The weight of that choice, the possible unraveling of a carefully curated family, brand presses heavily on her. Because once it's out there, there's no going back. No reunion dinner will undo what the public learns. No family group chat can put this back in the bottle. What she's holding isn't just personal, it's explosive. And while this truth could shatter illusions, it also holds the potential to free her from the years of emotional labor and financial silence she's endured. Robyn, meanwhile, isn't retreating. In fact, she's advancing fast, insiders say. She's not merely floating her manuscript to a few publishing houses quietly behind the scenes. She's actively scheduling meetings, entertaining offers, positioning herself not as the woman who stayed silent out of loyalty, but as the woman America misunderstood. It's a bold move, one some have even labeled as desperate. Because if Robyn were truly confident that Janelle's data held no threat, she believed the numbers were benign. Why sprint so fiercely to publish a rebuttal before anything is even dropped? One literary agent who claims to have seen her pitch described it as part emotional memoir, part reputational defense designed to pull at heartstrings, perhaps, but also to shield against what's coming. The problem is, fans are no longer relying on emotion alone. They've grown savvy. They want facts and receipts and clarity. And that's precisely what Janelle has been methodically preparing. Behind the scenes, TLC executives are reportedly scrambling. This isn't just a juicy feud to package into a few reunion clips. This is reputational fallout. And if it turns out the network had knowledge of discrepancies and failed to act, or worse, actively chose not to air scenes that showed the imbalance, then the backlash could stretch far beyond the Brown household. According to one insider, internal meetings have already started. Contingency plans are being floated, and damage control teams have been looped in. They're trying to get ahead of it, one source said. But if Janelle releases her documents first, everything changes. There's even chatter that TLC may attempt to broker a private peace treaty, urging the wives to settle their disputes quietly behind the scenes, not for the sake of unity, but to preserve the network's image. However, those in the know believe it may be too late for diplomacy. With Janelle escalating and Robyn digging in, the window for a quiet resolution may have already slammed shut. Even Mary, long the queen of discretion, is reportedly paying closer attention than ever before. Those close to her whisper that she's torn between staying out of the mess and feeling vindicated after years of being treated like a fifth wheel. She sees the irony, they say. Robyn, once seen as the loyal victim, now finds herself on the defensive, trying to protect a legacy built on selective truths. And then there's Cody, caught in the middle, but allegedly shrinking his circle by the day. Reports suggest he's become increasingly paranoid, reading every message, every glance, every silence as a potential leak. His grip on the family narrative, once firm and unwavering, is slipping fast. There are whispers of frantic phone calls, of him blaming the women for the growing tensions, and even accusing Janelle of misunderstanding the finances. But those close to the books, people familiar with the actual numbers, say it's not a misunderstanding, it's math. It's cold, time-stamped math. And Janelle isn't the only one combing through the numbers. Christine is said to be pushing for a formal audit of the Browns' joint ventures, especially Coyote Pass and the Vegas properties. Because if it turns out Robyn benefited from those deals in ways the others didn't, if profits were quietly redirected, resources were reallocated without consent, could blow the entire situation wide open. And while Robyn is reportedly preparing a press tour, reaching out to daytime talk show producers, pitching exclusives to major women's magazines with angles like surviving betrayal from within, critics have already begun to poke holes. You can't call it betrayal when someone just wants to show the receipts, one viral post read. And that's the core of it. One woman is crafting a story. The other is verifying a truth. It's emotion versus documentation, narrative versus numbers. And in this climate, viewers don't want to be told what to feel. They want to see the facts and decide for themselves. Several TLC insiders claim that there are hours of unaired footage scenes that touched on household expenses, shared accounts, and how credit cards were managed that were cut before episodes went live. Cut not because they weren't relevant, but because they were too relevant. It's because they risked upsetting the carefully balanced image the network had been selling for over a decade. Now, producers are said to be rewatching that footage, unsure whether to bury it or use it to reclaim narrative control. It's a lose-lose. One